Hi, Rimsha, how are you?
मैं कैमरे वैमरे के साथ आ गया हूँ। और रेहान अहमद कौन है?
Hi, Mudassir.
नाइस फ्लावर। हेलो, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
Walaikum salam, Mudassir. How are you?
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, आप बताएं।
ठीक है, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह।
सो रेहान भाई, दिस इज़ माय फर्स्ट इवेंट एज अ लीडर, तो इतना मुझे पता है नहीं।
जी जी।
ये रिमशा के आसरे पे हूँ।
No worries. I mean, I hope it will go smooth. So I have slides basically around 10 to 12 slides. Okay.
ओके।
क्योंकि ज़्यादा ही technical session नहीं है, तो I'll not be going to the instance and all, but rather than staying on the slide, we can do either ways. We can make it interactive also, or rather than what I suggest more, we can keep it the QA round in the end while closing the session. Yeah. So it depends. Whatever Rimshan you suggest, I'm okay with that.
हाँ, आई गेस इट्स अप टू यू।
So Rimsha, what do you suggest?
So, okay, you can go for the presentation and just like the um, basic understanding. Because बहुत ज़्यादा हाई लेवल के लोग तो हमें वैसे भी ज्वाइन नहीं करते हैं. It's like admin
Uh,
and intermediate level.
uh,
Yep.
नहीं मैं easy रहूँगा agenda पे. Of course, I'll go very basic क्योंकि the idea is कि why I choose this is because जो business process mapping की understanding है वो थोड़ी कम ही रहती है intermediate admins में और जो startup लोग होते हैं तो I think it would be better for them to know the importance. But of course, I'll keep
Mm-hmm.
it macro and easy. Yeah.
Sure thing. Okay. So हम वैसे तो 5 to 10 minutes वेट करते हैं ताकि अटेंडेंस ज्वाइन कर लें उसके बाद हम
Uh-huh.
स्टार्ट करते हैं.
No
But yeah,
worries. I wanted to be early, so it's good. We can wait.
awesome. Okay.
One more thing, Rimsha, are we going to distribute some vouchers as well?
No, I don't have any voucher. Do you have?
I'm new to the community, so I don't know how to access the vouchers.
अच्छा स्वैग्स तो हैं बट हम ऑनलाइन इवेंट्स में नहीं देते हैं स्वैग्स या वाउचर्स.
अच्छा,
वाउचर्स देते थे पहले जब होते थे बट अभी नहीं है. सेल्सफोर्स ने देना बंद कर दिया ना.
ठीक है। तो ये 1 घंटे का इवेंट है, ऑटोमेटिकली खुद एंड हो जाएगा या हमें करना होगा?
हम्म, करना होता है. मैं तो हमेशा करती हूँ. मैंने कभी वेट नहीं किया टाइम पूरा होने का.
ओके।
या
Hi everyone, am I audible?
Yes, for me.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
So I think Rehan and Mudassir, we can start. We have a lot of people already joined.
Okay, let's start.
Yep.
Rehan, like you can start with your introduction and then you can share your slides.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mudassir. I'm sure.
But
So,
Rehan,
yeah,
Mudassir, would you like to introduce yourself first as a group leader, and then we can go for Rehan as
Okay,
a speaker, as, because
okay.
yep.
So, hi everyone, my name is Mudassir Ahmed. I am a Islamabad community Salesforce group leader, users group leader, and this is my first event. And I'm like joining with Rimsha, so it's a joint event basically. That's my like little bit introduction. And my last organization was SNP Global, and nowadays I'm doing freelancing. So this is my like short introduction. Rehan, we can continue.
thank you, Mudassir. Hello,
Thank you.
everyone. So, thank you for joining, first of all. Let me start with the introduction. My name is Rehan Ahmed. I've been working with the Salesforce for the last 9 years. I've been in UAE for the last 8 years working with a Salesforce partner company named Afida Solutions. I'm basically operating at the moment as head of operations and project. And the idea of today presentation, I'm not really contributing in community. This is just the start of it. Thanks to Rimsha for the idea. And the idea is basically that I'll just share the knowledge which I have so far gathered by my experience with respect to the understanding of business processes and how critical they are for the successful Salesforce project. So I'll be sharing one presentation around 10 to 12 slides, and we will basically ending on the question answer round. If there is any question in between, you can raise the hand via the medium, and then I'll try to answer with the best of my knowledge. Let me share my screen. Please let me know when you can able to see it.
Sure.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, so as I mentioned, the topic is
We can
understanding. Yep. Is
see
it?
your
It is
screen
fine,
now.
Ramsha? Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Present it. We are
Ramsha?
seeing the whole.
Okay. Is it okay? Shall I go to the next slide? Is it fine, or shall I
Yeah,
change it?
it's fine now.
It's fine. Okay, great. So as I mentioned, the topic here is basically understanding business processes for effective Salesforce project, because the main punchline for this presentation today is basically that we need to be, as a technical person, close enough to the business so that we can provide our customer a tailored solution, best, which is the kind of best use for your client in the end, and then they can use it effectively. First of all, thank you to Rimsha and team for this opportunity to share the knowledge with the community. The agenda will be defining the business processes, how we can define the business processes. Then we will move on to requirement gathering and analysis, how requirement gathering and analysis we can make it effective, what are the ways, what are the techniques we can use, okay, and beyond bookage techniques that we have, what is actually matter on the floor. And then we have two slides which are related to the Salesforce solution alignment and implementation planning and strategy. How basically you align your Salesforce solution with the business processes that you have gathered. So it is not only, as per my experience, the business analyst role to basically understand the business processes, but I think it is equal responsibility for all the technical people, all the administrator, developer, even the QA to understand the business processes so that everything will be in the end uh, walking the business requirement talk rather than just the technical standalone solution in the end, which may be the result if we miss these things during the project life cycle. Then we will be discussing about the customization and integration, how you choose between the customization and integration, what should be your priority when it comes to the solutioning. We will speak about the change management and training. So, change management, as per my experience, is the most overlooked phase or stage during the project life cycle. So, we'll be speaking about it, how important this is, how critical it is, and how you can make a difference with that. And then we will be having the measuring success thing as a ending note, post which we will be taking your questions, and I'll try to answer them. So let's start with the defining business process. So it is critical to define the business process the moment you start the project. No matter you are starting from the RFP phase or you are just getting a simple scope of work from your customer, it is super important that you need to know what are the business processes you have. And let's say we take an example in Sales Cloud, if you can define your sales stages with respect to the business requirement, it would be, you will be defining it as, first stage would be prospecting, then it could be negotiation, then it could be close one, post which you can basically map the close one to the opportunity and then connect it with the different validation rules, and then you can have different forecasts being running on it. So company need to basically see that the system ultimately will be having, being designed on the business processes that has given to you. So mapping of those processes to the Salesforce is also important. Once you are basically gathering the business processes, you should understand that for what you are gathering the business process for, because Salesforce has multiple clouds and application, you should know that this requirement is best fit for the Sales Cloud, or when you are basically overlapping to the Service Cloud, and what are all the things which are you are considering for the Marketing Cloud. So as I said, the defining and the fine lining between the Salesforce applications and the cloud is super important. And there are some mapping techniques also available, like work breakdown structure. You should have a checklist with you to present while gathering the business requirement document, so that you know that you're gathering the business requirement document, business requirements in the right bucket and in the right box. So this is the key to basically, first of all, start the project. Even if you start being a core technical person, in the end, you should know, as per my understanding, the business goal, the business objective, why this Salesforce is being implemented. It will be less interesting for technical people sometime, as per my experience, but it is always help when you understand the bigger picture. And then when you basically work under the same umbrella, what a project manager know, what a business analyst know. So it is no harm, there's no harm if you just pick up one small discussion with your business analyst and understand the things, rather than working in a silo where you are just building one component, or we are just writing the Apex class. If you know the whole process, it will be super helpful. So close to business processes while defining the technical design is super important, and it will give you also a context to the market, that what is happening. And when tomorrow you're talking about your solution, it will be giving you a context about what did you build, for what community, for what customer, what is the benefit of it, what is the end result of it. So hence, this slide is basically just to emphasize that how you gather the business requirement, and then how you map it with the current Salesforce org that you have. Of course, you should be also aware that what customer has subscribed to. Sometimes what happened that we know that customer has Sales Cloud, but we are gathering something with respect to sending SMS or WhatsApp messages. So we should always define the things very well before we go face the client or not, in order to work on any project that may come to us. This is the requirement gathering and analysis pointers. So basically, what are the best practices for the requirement gathering? The first best practices is engaging the stakeholders. What does that mean? That means that when you are engaging your customer, when you are engaging the stakeholder, you are actually ensuring the half of the success of the project. If you ask me, as per my experience, 50% is the business knowledge and 50% is the technical knowledge when it comes to the project success. So when you are engaging, it does not mean that you are engaging him only for the requirement gathering phase. It means that you are engaging them from all the stages of the project. No matter you are gathering the requirement, you are doing the testing, or you are uploading the data, or you are conducting the UAT, or you are deploying the things, or are you in the support. Engaging a stakeholder will be super helpful. If we talk about the business requirement gathering engagement, that would help you to engage them, to talk to the technique is basically you can talk to their process champions. You can ask your customer in the interviews and workshop and survey about the documents that they may have. You can ask them about their typical day in their daily life when it comes to system touch points. How do they start the day? Are they starting the day by checking the email? Hence, we know that we can integrate it with Outlook to Salesforce. What does they do next? They will check their follow-up. So we have a task dashboard for them, and then if they are checking their leads and opportunities, we can create another dashboard and a defined list view, a predefined list view for them to access that. So these are all engaging method is actually giving you some input when you are defining the system, rather than, again, in my experience, maybe many of you are already following that, but in my experience, majority of the time when we are building the system, when we are gathering the requirement, these things are missing, and hence we miss the personalization of the solution, and then that will lead to ultimate project dissatisfaction or failure in some time. Analyzing the requirement is also related to the previous slide, where you analyze the requirement, fit that requirement in with respect to the right Salesforce solution. This requirement lead is for the Sales Cloud, or this requirement is for lead object, or this requirement is for the task module, or if there is any custom object. So we need to analyze the requirement properly, avoid the customization, and go with the standard solution, because you can do miracles in Salesforce by using majority of the things which is already there in the configuration part, rather than jumping to the customization, which is my seventh slide to talk to about. Another technique here is in the requirement gathering is the prioritization technique. There are many rules, or there are different methodologies about the prioritization of the requirements. In a nutshell, I mean, you can pick up any, let's say the Moscow, which is basically the must to have, should have, could have, would not have. Or you can simply ask, as a layman terminology, your customer that what are the priorities for you, what you can live with, what is must to have and what is nice to have for you, so that your focus should be on the requirement that is must to have. Let's say if client need to improve his Salesforce pipeline, so your focus should be on the opportunity object, by beautifying it, by make it user friendly, and then by giving more focus if there is any customization also needed on the same. Handling conflict management is another important thing. When I say this, it has multiple aspects, but with respect to the presentation that we have, handling conflict management means you should know that what are the conflicts between the requirements, between the products that you are working on, should not be overlap one thing in the multiple clouds. And the conflict management means also that you should always play around within the limitation of the given scope of the work. So you should always talk to the customer, begin with the scope of the work. You should know that I'm implementing this, and then you should basically, I would say, uh, don't go with the ideas that what are all the things possible in Salesforce. Always limit yourself, deliver that first, make them use, let them see some ROI on that, and then propose more things. As per my experience, whenever you ended up proposing all the things in the world to the customer, it is not only confuses them, but it will give you also some basically confusing requirement from the client. So it is you who's basically leading the show. So you always be at that position by handling the conflicts, by prioritizing the requirement, by analyzing the requirement, and then by engaging them if I go from top to down. So these are some important areas where we should be putting some more focus on the requirement gathering. And as I mentioned, one of the ways basically to ask customer about their typical day in an office, what they do, it always helps. And you should be also ready in the requirement gathering with list of questionnaire. What do you need to ask for the salespeople? Then you need to ask one more important thing for the project success is the cross team function. So you should ask them how you hand it over to the next team. When sales is done, what do they do? What is next? When opportunity is closed, it should go to order. So order is what? What team handle that? Are they on Salesforce? Are they on another system? Do you need to notify them? So always basically complete the circle. Don't just create the process which is incomplete. Always try to complete either within the solution or outside the solution. It's up to you. But depending upon the scenario, it basically vary. But you try to complete the circle, which will give client a good idea that you care about their business, and you are not just giving them a implemented piece of solution which they have given you, but you means their business value, and then you are actually concerned about it. This will give you some more business also from the customer when you are basically in this position, and then showing your understanding that you know what is your next step. So we can go extra miles with some values and then by putting a price to it, by telling them that we are going extra miles, these are the things which can help them, so that it can become a future phases for them to work on the next project with you. It could become a potential change request in the future, and so on. The next, after you are done with the requirement gathering, is basically the alignment with the Salesforce products and solution. So basically, you should know what are all the clouds you are using. We have partially discussed this in the previous slide, because requirement gathering and alignment is kind of a hand to hand. Aligning Salesforce business, if company goal, let's say, is inspire Salesforce sales pipeline, so your focus should be on Sales Cloud, on opportunity stages. You should be focusing more on the pipeline and funnel dashboard. You should know what are the reports you are creating for them. And most importantly, the ease in the process. The Salesforce, when you are implementing for these customers, you should be picking up some best use cases and best case studies, and see from there. One of the best thing that you can achieve with the Salesforce is make salesperson or customer support person or whoever the end user life's easy, by not asking them to complicate their life by having difficult solution, but rather than having more easy screens, less data input, no multiple data entries should be there. The data is mapped thoroughly if they are putting name and email first time, and if they are generating any PDF, the mapping should be proper. So you should be testing the things before you even deliver it to the QA for the testing purpose, again depending upon your role, because here we have multiple participants from different areas and different expertise. But I'm just saying that overall, this is the responsibility of anyone who's building the solution, either as a project manager or as a business analyst, administrator, technical person, or solution architect. I think it is equally important for all the stakeholders from the implementation side to understand these things, and how well you are aligning the things. So going back to the old slide, with this, when you are defining the business process, because when you can define business process, you can determine the goal at that time, that what is the end goal. And in this alignment, you should talk about that goal. You should give them some successful alignment, that you have aligned your sales process, and now what are the achievement they are getting. Are they basically improving their sales? Are they seeing their numbers? Are they saving some time in approval for the digitalization? When they are working on a Word to PDF file, their life is now easy. So you need to align the system, and at the same time, throughout the period, as I mentioned, engagement with the client, which is your core communication, will be key to the success. So whatever you are doing, engage the customer from time to time, which will help them to basically not to have any negative surprises in the end, where you are engaging the customer from time to time. Let's say you are doing the design, and you are not yet reached to the UAT level. There's no harm in engaging the customer by giving them some A/B testing for some PDF, that hey customer, you see A and B, which design do you like the more, or we can do this or that. In this engagement, they also feel like they are responsible for creating the system, and there won't be any shocks or surprises in the end. Because we need to understand one thing, that whenever we are doing the Salesforce implementation for any company who is not on any system, which is 75% the scenario, there is a huge change management from the customer side. There is always resistance from the client and side, that on the floor, that implementation of the system is difficult, or the old system is easy, they were happy manually. So if you engage their stakeholders, if you engage their process champion, it would be easier for you to basically win the strategy when it comes to the change management, and when you are implementing it on the floor. Because I think everybody who's working on the Salesforce should have this thing in their mind, that what they are implementing is giving what kind of value to the customer, and how well they're using it. Are we just finishing it and going to the next project? We should not. We should feel pride in the end to know, after talking to the customer, let's say later 2 years, that what is the best they get from that product. I mean, because we are spending our time, this is our careers. So we should think like that. It will give us more energy, and I think soul to the project, to basically become more successful in the end, and meaningful for the Salesforce as well. Now, the next slide is basically how you are doing the implementation planning and the strategy. Well, thoroughly strategy of the entire project is key. So let's say you can use the agile methodology, you can deploy the project whenever, no matter big or small, into the phases. And as I mentioned, you can always do the proper resource engagement and when stakeholder engagement. And when you are doing the stakeholder engagement, that does not mean only on the customer side, that means the resource allocation from your side also. So being a project lead or being a project team member, you should know that your co-workers or your team is properly being allocated on that project. Then take feedback. Again, going back to the engagement, you take the feedback from internal and external resources. Take a backup of the things, always backed up by the documentation. Whenever you are moving through the project, you should do the risk management by backing up yourself with a signed document, signed solution design. If there's anything that is coming different, always sign the change management, which is our next to next slide. Deploy and roll out the things always to the smaller team, I would suggest, and then go to the bigger team. The big bang is never a good idea when it comes to the bigger audience, because in this way we will be playing very safe. So if you see from the beginning, if you engage the customer in the requirement gathering, in the testing, then developing into the phase wise manner, and then deploying it to the smaller pool and then to the bigger pool, it will give you a very safety net to basically implement the project and then defining the overall strategy of the implementation. Budgeting and the cost estimation is also very important. You should always have an eye, being a project lead or project team member also, because it's an equal responsibility split across the team, that you should know that what is the budget and the cost estimation, if your project is still on the green or are you overburning your time. So time estimation, budget estimation is super important. And I'm not saying you should over involve in these things if you are not at the project management level, but you should involve at a certain level. So you should be aware about what is happening, because you are in this environment, and then you should be worried about if weather is getting hot, or if your leads who you are working with getting some pressure from the client with respect to budget, or some internal pressure due to the overconsumption of the budget. So these are the things you should have a very layman idea, I would say, that I should know that I'm on a green or I'm in a red zone, so I need to put efforts accordingly. This is the very much important thing for all the stakeholders of the project from the team side to know about these things. Then next is basically customization and integration. So we all know that Salesforce is highly customizable. What I would say, this is the pro and con both. It's the positive point, it is the negative point at the same time if we don't have the balance. So Salesforce highly customizable does not mean that we should just go and start writing the epics. We should always go first of all with the out of the box features. When it comes to the solutioning, we should always go with the flows. We can always go with the validation rule before even thinking about the apex and lightning component. What I have seen, I mean, in many examples, that the coding thing is always the first priority for a person who's working on the project. I understand completely that for a technical person this is the key to go into, which is not really, I mean, a bad idea from their side, but it is not helping, because if you, let's say, need to calculate a small commission, so you can just simply use a formula field, and you can just use simply by updating the formula field with the flow rather than going to the apex, because going to the apex and the code is not bad thing, but you should just consider twice before going into it, because of course not only that you are making system heavy and complicated, but in the end you are making a system a little bit heavy when it comes to the maintenance. Again, that does not mean that you don't do the apex or the customization. We cannot live without that also, but this slide meaning is that you should avoid the over customization, and Salesforce has many things which can help you to basically drive the solution from the out of the box thing. Let's say the multiple currency thing, multiple dashboards on their homepage, or flows to update the things, and there are some paths to showcase the opportunity stages. There are many things which you can literally use out of the box, and out of the box things are guaranteed 100% being built by Salesforce, so you have more reliance on it. So even if the technical person you know how to code, you should always avoid the over customization. And when it is needed, as I mentioned, just repeating myself, you cannot avoid that at all. So our approach when it comes to the customization and integration should be very balanced. And when it comes to integration also, we should go first the easier way around by creating the connected app, by going to the RESTful API, which are available as the first way of integrating, rather than again complicating it with some batches or other things. So we should avoid that. We should understand the order of execution of Salesforce, of how Salesforce work, what do you do, and what and how it will impact your customer as a solution in the end. Again, which is the emphasizing of my this whole presentation, is basically that you should know about the business process, you should know about what is customer goal by implementing this solution, so that you know, and then you can think about it while doing everything, while doing the requirement gathering, while placing the requirement onto the clouds, by planning and strategy, by doing the customization and integration. If you are on the top of the business requirement, again, to a level you need to be considering your role, it is definitely be helping you to achieve the successful project, and then avoid the customer dissatisfaction. Change management, as I mentioned, most overlooked area in the project life cycle. So you should do the change management properly. Change management is very important in a project life cycle, and then you should have a proper documentation, because there is a tendency in the technical side of the team that we pick up the things. I'm considering myself also in, when customer tell me something, I get challenged with that, and I will say, yeah, it is possible. You are basically talking about Salesforce, this is the number one CRM, so yes, it is possible, but you should know at the same time that Salesforce is a number one CRM for a reason. So you need to basically be careful about taking any requirement which can lead to a change management. You should document it. You should always talk to your business analyst or project manager, going back and telling them this is the additional requirement they are saying. Will this impact a huge efforts on the development side? If no, then you should do it again by putting a value to it. Or if not, then you need to properly follow change management by telling the client that this is the change management you are suggesting, or it will impact the timelines or budget or anything, and let them decide. But always highlight while doing, because even a smaller efforts or smaller extra efforts that you are doing can lead to the overall dissatisfaction or the failure of the project. Because no matter what you will do as an extra, if that extra feature does not work well while the demo, so it will not be considered as a favor that you are giving it to the customer. Having said that, training goes without saying, the super important, because the customer need to know what you have built. The training, first point of the training is basically, it is starting from the engagement of the customer. It is basically giving you the trailhead path to the customer, and then you can basically able to give them the end-to-end user guide in order to train on the system. So training, you can basically giving them some snapshot user guide where they will be able to see the things, how it is working, what are the flows, some examples, as I said, some trailhead paths. So you need to be engaged with the customer. You can do some shadow with them and then tell them that how things are, and then it will really help them to uh, have the adoption. And then you can help them by continuous support during the hypercare, take feedback, create a feedback loops, and then assist them to basically get hands-on the system, so that they can get the best of what you have built, which is your product, and then you should be proud of it when they're using it and getting the best benefit. Measuring success is another thing. So measuring success means that whatever you have defined so far in the project and whatever you have done for the customer, you should be creating some measuring success criteria or things in the system, so through which they can know that they are achieving the success. By meaning measuring success, if I give example, if you are creating the case management or service cloud for any customer, you should be creating some reports and dashboard where you will be telling them that your cases are being assigned on a timely manner, your SLA has been improved, you're responding good, you are getting so much of the 5-star rating. If you are creating opportunity module, you should create some numbers, some dashboards, some derivatives where you can define and drive the measured and tell the customer that this is the post implementation optimization you have achieved. So not only the technical design or object design or automation, you should always consider means to an end, that how you can define the success to the customer, and then I'm sorry, some distortion. So always design the major success to the things. Allow me 1 second, guys. I have to 1 second. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Rehan, for sharing your experience and your insights. It was really helpful. Even I can relate because few months back I switched my role from Salesforce developer to technology program analyst. So now I understand like technical knowledge is good, but you also have to understand business knowledge, business solutions, how to understand teams, requirements alignment, everything. Like when you are having calls with the stakeholders or clients, so this is a different level of experience and learning. So I totally understand that. So, Dusty, do you want to say something?
No. Basically, uh, it's very important for a developer to go with the out of the box tools, which are flows.
Mm-hmm.
Like in SNP, basically, I was a developer, and in one
Mm-hmm.
year, I wrote, I guess, just one Apex class. And all the time, I
Mm-hmm.
was writing flows because it's much
Mm-hmm.
easier. Because in like when you are like transferring it to the QA or maybe to the UAT, and when the stakeholders test it, so it's very difficult to override it. So flows
Hmm.
are very easy, and you don't have to write
Exactly.
the test class. So like all the developers must understand this thing.
Even for
Yeah.
deployment, you can easily deploy flows. You don't have to worry about test classes, coverage, and all those things.
Yes.
You don't have to go for CLI. You can go for CLI for flows as well, but if you have classes and triggers, because most of the time when you are writing triggers and handler classes for business understanding and knowledge in the solution, you have to write test classes as well, and then you will face coverage issues while deploying it to production. So this is something that I recently did. So yeah, now we
Plus
can
it
go for the.
gets, yeah. Plus
Mm-hmm.
it gets very complicated for the new
Mm-hmm.
joiners, like
Mm-hmm.
to understand the code. Flows are much easier to understand that.
Yeah.
Let's start. Rehan, are you available?
The I am
Oh,
available, so basically we can.
yeah.
It's a question answer round. Basically, I'm done for that, and
Mm-hmm.
this is I literally wanted to share with the community because I have seen this in daily all the projects. No matter different people we work with, this is the very common challenge which are there. I'm sure there are many people who are already following that, but I leave the floor for the question answer. If there is anybody who would like to ask any question, I would love to answer that.
Sure. I don't think so. There is any question from anyone.
Fair
So,
enough.
Rehan,
Yeah.
I would
Yes.
like to like know like what advice would you like to give to the new joiners like who is coming into the Salesforce ecosystem as a business analyst as well as a developer?
So I think my one liner advice for, despite what role you are in, uh, is basically that you should start Salesforce step by step. There is enough knowledge in the basic solution of the Salesforce which you can really utilize to make your life easy. What happens is basically most of the time we always look to the end and then we directly jump to the complicated things and then get because it's I have seen many places that we are using the heavy terminology, but in the end, we can live our life with the basic in the Salesforce. I think we should understand the basic first as first thing, and then second advice is my presentation, which is basically that you should have some idea. I mean, 5% idea of the business also helps. No matter if you are a trainee on the project, never work in a disconnected approach, being a technical person only, because it's not good for your career at all. I have learned through a tough way, but I would give this back to the community that you should know about what project. So if tomorrow somebody asks you, you should know what is the end product. I've seen people will say my project manager gave me X and I did Y, and that's it. They know that only. So never work in a blindfolded manner. Always get to know more, and it will no matter if it is your area or not, it will help.
Exactly. I totally understand that. Awesome.
Plus,
So
So we finished
there's
early, I believe. Yeah, we finished early, but
yeah,
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 it's
I
all
think
right. This is
yeah.
this totally, yeah. We can start presentations on time. We can end early. It's all right.
and
Yeah.
one more question, Rehan, I would like to know, like, as we can see, like, there are a lot of certifications regarding different domains. Like now we can see data cloud is like in very in demand. AI certification as well as CPQ is also in demand. So, like, how important is it to know the business domain, like the each industry, like sales industry, customer service industry for service cloud? What do you think about this?
I think the basic industry knowledge should be there for each cloud. So let's say if you are doing if you are doing CPQ certification, for example. So first of all, you should know what is CPQ for the business. I know that CPQ is basically from the technical aspect. It is when it comes to complicated quotation, multiple currencies, this and that. That is where we suggest them the CPQ. But what kind of industries use that? So the answer is manufacturing industries, because manufacturing industries have the most complicated cost calculation methods in the practice. So we should, if as I said, it's not about mastering it; it's just to know the headlines, so you can relate to it. And then when you know CPQ, so you will know that where to implement it. Tomorrow, if you're working for let's say service industry, which is not as complicated, so we'll not open the chapter for the CPQ, no matter how much you have knowledge back of your mind. So we should always have link of things with the business. It will not only help you to have the successful project, but it will definitely help you to grow in your career also, because the more close you are towards business, the more logical technical person you will end up become. Solution architects, technical leads, this is the point where we are all aiming to as a beginner, right? So if you have the business touch, you will definitely grow in your career also, and you'll be become more valuable for the companies and for the end customers also.
Plus, most of the like developers are not good communicators. Like, so, like, how important is it for every developer to be a good communication? Like, they must have a good communication skills. Like, you are a business analyst, so you must know, like, you interacting with a lot of developers from, I guess, from Pakistan or maybe from India. So what
Yes.
have you like seen like between developers communication as well as between a business analyst?
So I think the of course it's a plus. Developers who can good developers who can write good emails, developer who can communicate good, developers who are having a little bit understanding about the business are basically standing on different side compared to the developers who is way too good but not having these three flags. So of course the developer with a good communication, I would love to work. I That developer who's having a good communication will be having more chances to get into the more project and becoming a lead early, because he will communicate, and ultimately the project manager will be very much eased if I'm thinking about my scenario. So I'll be having my developer who can communicate well, so that I can offload myself from there. So this is how, the more you know, the more you get. I mean, and we should be not only worry about one aspect, but it's a 360, about your certification, about your business knowledge, about your communication, about your overall team involvement. And then the responsibility, the excitement is on the top. You should feel proud that you are representing the number one CRM, and it's a big thing. So you should enjoy it, I would say.
Great.
Nice.
For all the attendees, if you guys have any questions, so you can unmute yourself and ask questions from Rehan directly, or you can like write in the chat box.
We can take it as a no.
Yes, I guess we can wrap up the session.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining. I know it's not easy to join over the weekend, but yeah, I really appreciate it as a group leader. We at least expect this you like from all of you to join all these sessions that we are organizing, in-person sessions, online events, or the trainings, because this is all for you, for the community that we are trying to do, especially in Pakistan. So, and let me know if you, if there's any choice like for the topic presenter, and if you want to go and join us as a speaker, you can just let me know, Mudassir or Hassan. We all are group leaders. We are here to listen from all of you guys. So just let me know if there's any feedback. We can incorporate that as well for our next sessions. So there is something in the chat. Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words, and we are happy that you all joined us. And thank you, Rehan, for joining us, for sharing all these amazing things. I'm glad. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Rayan. It was a very informative session for me.
Thank you,
Yeah, for me
Rimsha.
as
Thank you,
well.
Vanessa. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And if anything I can able to answer, you can reach out to Rimsha, and I would be happy to assist. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the
Awesome.
weekend. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a
Bye,
great day,
everyone.
guys. Bye.
Bye bye, everyone.